It's rolling.
I'm Norbet, I'm 53 years old, coming from Germany, basically being a social worker, but having given up to work as such in German conditions. There were points I found too boring and too annoying. And so in the German system I'm on early retirement since 12 years, which gave me the freedom to have been volunteering and working with the disabled in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda as a volunteer, and that was a great experience, also widening my perspective on the world and on life. I was born with a visual impairment, so already was discovered when I was 6 weeks old, getting my first surgery when I was 3 months old, and if not doing surgery I would have been blind already at age 2, 3 or 4 years. So basically I had limited eyesight, like 5%, which means I could read and write, but I had to take a paper like this, almost touching the paper with the nose, and for some distance, which already meant for 80 centimeters and more, I needed like a telescope to see. I was doing quite some years in a regular school, and then with 14 came to a school for the blind and learned the Braille. I did my studies of social work in Germany, was working in that line, and as I said, after some 15 years of working, came to the point of giving up about it and just was frustrated about German working conditions. I came to India now as I received 1 year ago an invitation by an institute called International Institute for Social Entrepreneurs in Trivandrum. This place was started by a blind German lady and her Dutch boyfriend. Their background is having started the first school for the blind in Tibet about 12 years ago. And now, 3 or 4 years ago, they put up the buildings for this institute at the backwaters of Trivandrum to pass on knowledge how to start social projects. So they say they're looking for visionaries, not for people seeking employment with NGO or government, but who really want to start their own thing. And I knew about this lady and her work since years. We had been sometimes on telephone or email, we had common friends, but we never had met before. So I was happy about that invitation, and some weeks later decided, okay, if I go there, let me also go a bit longer to India when I travel there anyway. And so after some point I also came on the idea of going to Oroville, having heard and read a bit of it on the internet, and then said, oh well, I do not need, if I really like it, but from what I read on the internet, at least I know it sounds exciting enough to get it to know and to get my own impression about it. Yeah, and that's how I traveled to India in November, spent 7 weeks with the mainly blind participants in that institute in Trivandrum. People from Mongolia, China, Tibet, Nepal, Pakistan, India, half of the participants from all over Africa. So this was a great experience, 28 people from 18 countries. And then about Christmas I came to Oroville. And well, what I like on Oroville is simply to have a free space to collect experience, to do experiments, and to have a free space to do things which in the so-called normal world people might say, well, but that's a bit crazy. But maybe the interesting people in life, they are a bit crazy. So at least I don't feel bad if somebody calls me a bit crazy. I say, yes, you got it, I am. Sometimes I meet people telling me that I'm courageous about traveling on my own, and I need to say, on the one point, I limit my traveling, so I do preparations and organization to take care for a bit of safety, and Of course, when I lost my eyesight within the last 10-15 years, I was not feeling happy about it and jumping up and down for being crazy and happy about it. But basically, I had like decision making and to decide about the alternatives, either making the best out of it, or going into depression, or going into drugs or alcohol or whatever, or simply taking a gun and shoot at myself. So I try to make the best out of it, which of course does not mean that there are not phases of depression in between, or being sadness and knowing, well, when dancing in a big group, of course it would be fine to see also the other people moving around and look at faces and bodies, and of course I'm also missing those things, but I have to make the best out of it. Otherwise, if I'm frustrating myself, I also will frustrate others. If I want to meet friendly people, I cannot only can show to be rude and rough to others. So if I want friendliness, I also need to put seedlings of happiness in the ground.